as you all know from the thumbnail, I got to go to Canada and shoot a lot of film. A lot. So for my trip, I first went to North Carolina, spent a whole roll there with my family, and then went straight to Canada. And from the moment I got there, just shot after shot after shot. I am out on a lake in North Carolina with my family on a little trip, little vacay, and I figured I'd bring as much film as I can with me. I literally brought 4 rolls of Kodak Pro Image 100. I've never shot that, and I figured, I don't know, 100 ISO would be pretty good. It's kind of funny because I'm on this big old lake in North Carolina, and then later I'll be on a giant lake in Canada taking awesome photos. One thing I want to do in Canada is replicate the Chris McCandless photos. For anyone who doesn't know, Chris McCandless was a pretty cool dude. He was a hitchhiker who was kind of fed up with his old life and just hitchhiked across the country and wanted to live finally in Alaska, in the frontier, to kind of escape it all. And he figured it was an interesting challenge. Sadly, he died up there. Rest in peace, Chris McCandless. But I want to recreate the film photos that he took that he never got to see. So. My family gets to go to this place in Canada every year in this super remote lake. Typically there's no power out of a generator, no water except for a pump and a water tower, small one. And that creates such a neat sense of primitive living. It's really cool. That really fit well in with the film photography, all this analog tech, all this old stuff. I mean, the cabin was made in like 1919, I think. Something like that. First catch of the trip, baby. Let's go! Yeah, he's not much, but I mean, come on. Go back home now. The film photography there was epic. Made me realize that I'm not the artist. God is the artist that put all these things into creation, and I'm just the one that has the privilege to capture that on celluloid. Just incredible. I mean, the mountains, the lake, the sunsets, and what the fudge? So Chris McCandless was surviving in Alaska, and I know I'm in Canada, but they're very similar places, so I figured these shots would blend in very nice and would create kind of like a very neat mock-up of his own photos that he took. So tomorrow I'm going to start the Chris McCandless photos, and I've already scouted out a few places I want to take them, and I think this should be pretty cool. This should be cool photos in the collection, right? Now, I know what people might think about him. They might think he's an idiot. They might think he's a weirdo, an insane person. Might think that what he did was stupid and harmful. But Chris McCandless was a guy who just wanted to be different. He wanted to be apart from this world. And I think there's a lot to look up to. I know it was pretty extreme what he did, but the thing is, even Christ calls us to be extreme, guys. He found out that living apart was good, but it still wasn't fulfilling. The only thing that will fulfill is Christ. What Chris McCandless did does inspire. It inspires me to kind of escape this worldly system. Although I know I'm making content on the internet, what I'm trying to say is that I think everyone should be different, and they should strive to kind of break apart from the world. So, Chris McCandless might be an extremist to a lot of people. Some people might think what he did was stupid, that he basically killed himself in the woods. But what he wanted to do was to escape. Fly in my eye. I don't know the keys to success. I don't know what I need to do in my life, but I do know that King Solomon had everything. He had the richest kingdom on earth, ever, forever. He had the most wives, and he had the most wisdom out of any man that will ever live. Yet, Solomon lived not for God, not for Christ, but for this world. And he would find out later why that was so bad. But he spent years wasted. And Chris McCandless is the other extreme. Chris tried to get away from it all. He lived in the woods in Alaska after years of hitchhiking and trying to find his purpose, trying to find his place. And he thought, maybe if I live very, very simple in the woods in Alaska, it would be perfect. But even he couldn't find happiness, because this life is not about happiness. It can never be fully achieved. You can feel happy, but you'll never be satisfied 100%. What this life is about is seeking righteousness, and the only way to seek righteousness is through Christ. Both Solomon and Chris aren't necessarily wrong in their lives, except for the fact that they didn't put Christ first. It's good to find a happy medium that is 100% involved in Him. So, enough of that tangent. I hope the photos that I take kind of honor Chris, and I hope that you guys see the message and, I don't know, enjoy your life but live for Him. I wish I had more time to recreate all the Chris McCandless photos, but I was just so busy. I was fishing all the time. I caught a lot of fish, and you know, we did a lot of things there. But I hope that those photos honor him. But it was such a calm week there. The waters were so flat, and it allowed for such a mirror-like lake. In my photography, I try to keep away from just your subject in the center 100% of the time. I like to, you know, try the rule of thirds, right, and get my subject, in that case the sun, on the outside, so you kind of just look in this amazing landscape. I mean, the nature there was amazing, the wildlife was amazing, the frog photos were funny. That bullfrog was huge, and he was very photogenic. One day, I got to get a canoe and hike up this mountainside. Literally this massive canoe hiking up all the way. And I made it to these two lakes that you have to portage to. Did a bunch of fishing there. And the photos that lake produced were also amazing. I mean, it was a lot smaller, of course, so the water was incredibly flat. And the lily pads and the trees on the outside, oh my gosh, what a cool place.
figured I'd elaborate a little further. So, at least earlier, there was a big sentiment about kind of returning to the woods, so to speak, and how, you know, you gotta escape the society, this horrible society, and escape the problems, escape your dead slave mindset, you know. And yeah, there's some truth in that, but you'll never truly be happy if you don't hold him higher than anything else. And the thing is, Chris found this out. You know, after hitchhiking across America for years on end, he thought finally he wanted to escape. Even he was in the woods. He was living in the woods in California on the West Coast, and he figured, you know what? I can see the planes in the sky. I want to get somewhere where I can't see anything. No trace of anyone nearby. And I mean, it was good for a while, but ultimately he was lonely in the end. And that just proves that there's nothing on this world that can fulfill you except for Jesus Christ. And there's a big thing where, you know, there's two sides. People want to stack their bread, you know, work their asses off and fight for, you know, fight to retire early with a yacht and, you know, lots of bands, I'll say. But that won't fulfill you. The only thing that will fulfill you is living for the next world. It's kind of like the Rush song Cygnus X1 Book 2. Sorry, I gotta geek out on you. I would go listen to that. But basically, the side of Dionysus, the Greek god, and forgive me for talking about all these like pagan gods. Trust me, I don't believe in any of that crap. Nor should you. But the side of Dionysus wanted to return to the woods after Apollo and his followers built all these cities and were unfulfilled. So the people went to the woods, but they starved. Same story as Chris, guys. There's nothing new under the sun. It's all a big spiral, and every story has already been told. That's today, guys. But we have an escape from all of that. I got a little zealous, and I figured I'd take a few Instagram-worthy selfies, I'll say. I even recreated the Unabomber photo. I don't condone any of that, I just thought it was kind of funny. Recreating the Chris McCandless photos were pretty cool though, because for one, I didn't have a tripod, so I figured I'd just do it like he would have done. And granted, I didn't have a bus to lean on in one of them, but I think the cabin did it kind of justice. And the one of me in my journal was pretty cool. That is like one of my favorites of the trip. Which I propped my camera up on a rock or a chair for those, because, you know, I didn't have a tripod, and I was like, you know what, this is what he probably would have done. I used my self-timer on my Nikon F3. I forget what camera he had, but I mean, obviously he had a couple rolls. lastly, yeah, I took long exposures, took rainy day pictures, and luckily I did bring a shutter cable release because I thought I would have a tripod for it. I still took some long exposures on tables and chairs, so those took a while. And luckily, my favorite part about well, I never even used it until then, pretty much, but the removable viewfinder is so handy in that camera, because just like propping your camera on something low is impossible for you to tilt your head and look through the eyepiece. That's impossible unless you want to lay on the ground and dial it in sideways. It's not happening. So being able to pop that thing off and just look down and see if you're relatively focused or not is pretty good. I think one of my favorites is the island photo. I mean, Bob Ross. It's literally just a Bob Ross painting. I think one of my favorites too is the one of the woods and the sunset piercing through it, so it's all this dark green and this vibrant yellow.
My trip is ending soon, and I will be coming back to Florida. This was such a magical weekend, and gosh, I can't wait to see the photos. I know they will turn out well. It's almost like I have trust in my photos. Some kind of belief that they'll do good. I'm just kidding, guys. I have faith in them. But we had fun this weekend, and I mean, this place is such a. It's like Bob Ross painted this whole place, and I'm on the canvas. And I'm getting the chance to take his work and taking the photos of it. I feel like, I mean, God is Bob Ross, and he just put me here to view his beautiful painting right here, guys. I don't want to go back, but I also do, because I don't know, I'm bored after a while. But I mean, look at this place. We did so much. Recreating the Chris McCandless and the Ted Kaczynski photo was pretty fun, and I'm glad I had that thought. And there's just so much. I don't think 4 rolls was enough to capture all the beauty in this place. I had a fun time, and I hope you guys had fun watching me be a goofball in this place and taking a bunch of photos. Thanks, everyone. Peace.
You know, people joke about touching grass and whatnot, but it's just such a magical experience to be in nature and live in it for a bit, since we're so used to being in comfort, being in our pretty typical repetitive lives, you know. I hope everyone enjoyed the photos of my trip, and I encourage you to find your own beautiful place in nature. It doesn't have to be for a whole 2 weeks. It could just be a few days, maybe even your backyard, who knows. But touch some grass, you incel. Just kidding. See ya.